thank you for coming out here to spend a little bit of time at lunch with us. We're really thrilled to see so many of you. I'd like to just take a few minutes and give you a little bit of background on who we are and why we're here and why you're all here, and talk a little bit about our plans for the future, both with NASA and space and here in Houston. It's, as you said, it's great to be part of the family, and we're really thrilled to be part of this. Sierra Nevada is a company that's been around a while, although we take a position of not being so noisy about what we do. We're sort of a quiet company, and we like that, and it's a good thing for us. We've been around since the early mid-'60s, actually, and we've been under the same management team since the 1990s. A little bit unusual for a business in this industry. We're owned and run by management. We don't have any outside ownership, and that means the people who are running the company are the ones who are signing the names on what goes on, and we're very personal about what happens in our business. And we have about 2,200 employees right now, and a little over $1.2 billion in revenue around the United States, and been growing about 30% a year in the last 10 years, and profitable during that time, which is a really good thing. Because we don't go outside with our efforts, all the money that we make comes back into the company and goes into research and investment, including programs like what we're talking about today. So it's a really good thing. We've been in space for a while. As the congressman said, space is hard, and we've been doing it for 22 years. We've been on over 400 missions in space, and have had 100% on-orbit success, and we're flying something about every 2 or 3 weeks. We understand how difficult it is, particularly human spaceflight, and it's a big thing for us to be engaged with this. We are the owner and developer of a program called the Dream Chaser, which I'll talk about, and other things that we do. We're the largest producer of small satellites in the United States, and we do a lot of major components for big programs, including programs like the Orion program. And we build rocket motors, and now we're engaged with building the next generation orbital space transportation system. Many of you don't realize that perhaps that space is a lot closer than you think. Early next year, the first flights for commercial tourism will start under the Virgin Galactic program. You're seeing this vehicle here. We're proud to be part of that team, and we're building the rocket motor that will take those people up to space. There are currently over 400 people signed up to go start to fly next year, and about 4,000 people who are on the list to make that happen. It's really exciting to be part of such a great program. This is what we're building. It's what's called a lifting body, or a piloted spacecraft, and it looks like and acts like a small version of the space shuttle. We've been operating and developing this for about 6 years, but what's really particularly significant about this program is that it's been born at NASA, as I like to say. It was originally a program called the HL-20, which NASA worked on for about 10 years. So in our view, what we're doing today, the signing of an agreement here at Johnson, is really just a natural continuation of what's been going on for a long time. We're very proud to have NASA as part of our heritage, which is with this vehicle, and part of our future. We are launching initially on a Lockheed Martin United Launch Alliance Atlas V. Our Dream Chaser can launch on really any system that is developed in the future that could be taken up. But we're starting with the Atlas, primarily because we found that to get there, and to get there safely and quickly, we wanted to have a vehicle that had been flown. And the Atlas family has flown now over 90 times. Lockheed has produced a terrific vehicle, and now the United Launch Alliance is taking it and moving it forward. And we're very thrilled to have them as partners to our program. The heritage of this vehicle goes back into a place called NASA Langley, which is in Virginia, back into the 1990s. And NASA developed this vehicle originally to be the lifeboat for the space station. At one point in time, the station was going to have 10 people on it, and they needed a vehicle that could take those 10 people home. Essentially, if there was a problem, you could all pile in the vehicle and hit a button, and the vehicle would fly itself home. For a variety of reasons, including the issues with the shuttle and the fact that we were going to less people on the station, they stopped the program. And we picked it up now over 7 years ago, and I'd like to think of it as a really positive story, because rarely do you see the government invest in something and then it goes away only to come back in a form where you could actually say that we've used all that government investment, all that fine work that's gone on, all those people, the hundreds of people who've worked on this program now have a home. And in about 2 weeks, I'm going down to Langley, where we're welcoming back all the people from NASA who worked on this program. We're doing a little bit of a class reunion, and I thought it was going to be 5 or 10 or 20 people. There are dozens, and now maybe even close to 100 people who've come up to me and said, you know, this is a vehicle that really should have flown, and we're really happy that you're taking it to the next level. But you can't do space without having a team. And we're really proud to have one of the best teams that we could find in the country. And every company that does this has its own view of how this happens. In our view, it takes a village. It takes a group of companies working together with NASA, with the government to make it go on. And we're proud to have companies from around the country. We think of this as America's space team, including several here in the Houston area that have joined us, and we hope to get more in our Houston area. I have Ginger here from USA, who's recently joined our team. We have Hamilton Sundstrand on our team. We have McDonald Detweiler on our team, and now Johnson Space Center that we signed up this morning. So it's a growing base of operation for us here in Houston, and we don't think that we can go to space without having a major presence here in the city, and we're very proud to be part of that. We fly very much like the shuttle does. We take off vertically on a rocket. We'll circle the globe and go up to the station. We'll come back and land on a runway, and we can land on any 10,000-foot runway around the country. So it's a very similar profile. And what that means is that all those skills that are needed for the shuttle have a home. We need those people. We need the people who understand how to do that. We appreciate and respect the fact that that has been going on for so many years, so successfully in our mind. And we don't see how we can go to space without tapping into that knowledge base and all those folks. This is not a dream, even though its dream is in the name. We actually are building it right now, and we did build a test article last year that we tested fairly thoroughly. We have built the rocket motors that will be going on the vehicle that will help move it, and those motors have been tested. We are in first production now of the first vehicle, and we're well on the way to making that happen. And we built a large-scale model of the vehicle, and with NASA's help, flew it last December. So what we like to say, after many years of working on paper, that this is actually something I can go touch at night. And that makes a big difference, as those of you in the space industry know. I'm going to talk a little bit more, but I did want to give you a view of what we're doing. But from our perspective, it is so important to have NASA and have the Bay Area part of this team. We fought for a long time to start what's called the Space Act Agreement. And for those of you who don't understand that, what it means is that we're actually contracting with NASA, which means that we're paying the folks here in Johnson for their expertise, for their advice, to use the facilities. And we see that as a major part of what we're doing. NASA has, as the Congressman has indicated, has invested in us, but we've invested as well. Every dollar NASA has put up, we've matched it. And we believe that's the way to go in the future, is to be able to say that there is equal skin in the game, that companies are part of this as well as government, and we should work together to bring the future of our space program happening. Before I end, I did want to say a few final words and a few thank yous. I wanted to thank Rick and Patty and all those at the Bay Area Houston Magazine and the Hilton Hotel for all their wonderful efforts. This started as a phone call which said, "Would you mind if we had a little lunch for you?" Little lunch, I thought was going to be 10 people around the table. So I have to remember that when I come back to Texas, what that actually means. But you guys were terrific, and I am really thrilled to be part of that. And as you heard mentioned earlier, Jacobs and Lon Miller and Joy and Kira jumped on board, and they were one of the first. I don't know how many of you know about Jacobs, but they're a major player with NASA, and Lon and his team were one of the first to come and welcome us and recognize us several years ago as we came to this idea, long before we won the first contracts, and it's a major thing for us, and we appreciate that support. You know, a few years ago there was a book called The Greatest Generation. I don't know how many of you have heard of it or read about it, and it's an amazing book, and I say that today because today is June 6th, and for those of you who know a little bit about military history, it was the anniversary of the invasion of Europe called D-Day, and that book, The Greatest Generation, was talked about that. And about this time, those years ago in 1944, my father was flying over the beaches of Normandy and was getting shot at. And I used to hear about those stories from him when I was learning to fly. And one of the things that I believe in is that when America needs a greatest generation, it comes up. While there's certainly the people of that generation in that time deserve everything they get, they're not the only ones who are. And in my view, the space program has had that too. The greatest generation of people who've worked in the space program have given us all the amazing things that we do today, and what we see are to me, those are my idols and my heroes. I think it's the same time, I think it's time for us right now to show that same kind of courage. The people that we have in the space industry have led the way, and the people at NASA have led the way with amazing programs in Mercury and Gemini and Apollo and the shuttle, and I don't believe that's dead right now. We know that to create a program like ours, like this Dream Chaser, we have to bring the best of the space world to bear, and that means the best of NASA. We reached out and have been talking to all the centers, and I was really pleased to spend some time this morning with Mike Coates, and to me that represents the best of that generation. And the folks here at Johnson and the folks who have been working in NASA all these years have really created a magnificent program and a magnificent road for us to follow. It also means bringing the best of industry and the best of government together. I know we have many members of the community here. Some of you I haven't met, but we've got representatives from Webster, from Nassau Bay, from Big City, from Kemah, from Seabrook, from Houston, and a whole bunch of others. And I wanted to thank you, for those of you who haven't met, for your help and your support. I really do feel like we've joined a family, and we can't ask for more than that. We believe that what we're doing is a spirit of openness. We want to bring NASA as well as everyone else to what we're doing. A few years ago, the government created what's called the Commercial Crew Program, and as you heard, we were fortunate to have won a couple of those programs recently and have helped launch our program here. But that didn't happen by accident. It was really enabled by a lot of hardworking people behind the scenes and a lot of hardworking people here in Houston. And certainly the leadership of NASA and the leadership of the centers are well deserved for supporting that. But I also wanted to thank Congress in the form of our representative here, and Pete, for your work. And for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you a little story. When we first started talking about this, he is a very unassuming guy. We sat down with a little brown bag lunch at a table, and we started discussing what this was about. There was no pomp, no circumstance. He's one of the best supporters I've seen in Congress of the area of what we're trying to accomplish. And beyond that, he knows flying. And I'm trying to convince him to come fly with us after his many years flying in the Navy and flying P-3s and protecting my rear end when I was out there. Thank you, Pete, for doing that. But it's wonderful to have somebody who not only has a passion for the area and for the city, but also for what we're trying to accomplish. It's a hard thing to do, what we're trying to do in space, and having leaders like Congressman Olson is really an amazing thing for what we're trying to do, and we really respect that. And I know she's not here, but I know there's a representative from Senator Hutchinson's office here somewhere. Albert, right? Yeah, Albert, thank you for coming. And you know, going back now, since I think the early 90s when the senator first became part of this, she helped lead many of the things in NASA and was part of the Space Committee of the Senate and was really responsible, I think, in many ways for the things that we're trying to accomplish. So would you please pass on our appreciation to her for all the great work that she's done for us and for the state. You know, many people ask why we need space, and you know, for me, it's a passion thing. But I'd like to suggest sometimes when you have that question, do what I do, which is to go to one of the museums or go to the Space Center down the road here. And don't go there to look at the exhibits, which I've looked at so many times, but to go there and look at the faces of the children and the kids that go by. And you realize why we do what we do. It's a passion thing. There's a reason that people love space. We want to explore. We want to get motivated. We want to be able to see tomorrow. And when you see those kids, you realize that this hasn't changed. It hasn't changed for me. I was one of those kids at one point in time, wanting to go to space and growing up and flying and being part of my family's farms and being part of the aviation history. Everybody, I think, who goes to those museums feels the same thing. We reach for the stars because it's part of what we are. And I think that sometimes, with all due respect to Washington and our congressmen, but sometimes I think space policy should be made in one of those museums, or should be made sitting at one of these centers. Because I think we forget that beyond all the money and all the arguments back and forth, that it's really about that passion. And that's what we hope we share with you all today, is our passion for this. This is not just a job, it's not just a contract. Every one of us believes in what we're trying to do, and that is to make our country better. No, it's one of the things when you're an entrepreneur you do, you get a lot of people come up to you and say, I think you're crazy, why are you doing this? And I think some of you in the audience probably resonate with that one. And it's a pretty common thing to get it. And when I go to one of these museums, I look around and I say, I wonder what would happen if we said the same thing to the Lindberghs or the Goddards and all the people who started this industry, that they were crazy, that you'd never be able to raise the money, that it wouldn't be safe, that there's no market, that you'll never fly. You know, you read their books, it's constant in every one of those people who ever made any difference in the space industry. They all say the same thing. They say the same thing I say when I'm mumbling to myself, sitting in the office at midnight, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. Yeah, that's what drives us. But if we sit there and we take no for an answer, it really is never going to get this country or anything that we do any further. And I believe for what we're trying to accomplish, we're trying to fly to a place called LEO, and that is low Earth orbit. That is for us to go back and forth to deliver crew and cargo to the space station and bring people home. That's our mission. We're not trying to go to the moon or Mars or anywhere else. And we believe in the space program. We believe in the other part of the space program that NASA ought to explore beyond Earth orbit. We're a fan of Orion. We think that it makes sense for that program to happen. We think that it makes sense for us to explore. And we can coexist. In the same way, if you ever go to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, you'll see, and you look up on the ceiling, you'll see the best of entrepreneurial space sitting alongside the best of government space. And those exhibits coexist, and we think we can coexist too. Our program is based on a NASA design, and we believe that NASA design is really what makes it special, but it's not the hardware, it's the people that matter. And the people that really, for me, when I first started this a number of years ago, it was me and a few people sitting around the table thinking that this makes sense. And we tried it for a while, but really what made a difference is when we started bringing on people who knew what to do and how to get there. And I'd like to recognize a couple of those people, if I could. Jim Voss, who is sitting very quietly in the corner of the room there, and as he usually does. Jim, besides spending the first half of his life protecting us in the Army and facing the walls in Germany, he then became an astronaut and flew 5 times with our astronaut program. I had a dream, and I took that dream to a place, but that dream didn't start to become a reality until Jim decided to leave his calm, quiet life and come join our insanity. And it was from him and from what he's done that really set the foundation of our program, and certainly for me allowed for this dream to start becoming a little bit of reality. And others on our team, John Curry, who also was very modest, and John had spent many times as a flight director and understands the intricacies and difficulties that are necessary to make this kind of program run. And most recently, I'm fortunate to be able to say that Steve Lindsay, former head of the astronaut office and the last commander of Discovery when it landed, and a 5-time astronaut himself, was able to join us and will be joining us in a few weeks. And these are only representatives of a large group of people, both within NASA and out of NASA, who are coming to join us. And it is for us a blended time. And we believe that blending of government and industry and entrepreneurialism can work. You know, just in closing, I'd like to say that our market has been, for a long time, we feel that Americans should fly American vehicles to the International Space Station. And right now, where we are as a country is that we're going to be contracting for the next number of years to send Americans on Russian spacecraft. And while the Russians have been a terrific partner and there's nothing wrong with what they've done, I don't believe that that's what should happen. My view is that we ought to do that in this country. And like Congressman said, we like it big here in Texas and we want it all. We don't want just to go beyond LEO. We want to be able to keep the LEO missions here, keep those jobs here, keep that manufacturing here, expand the base here in Houston. And when I go fly, I want to be able to take a piece of the shuttle program with me, the spirit of that, the spirit of the people behind it, because that's really what makes a difference. Other than that, we're just a bunch of nuts and bolts, and it really doesn't matter. And so I hope that as the shuttle program comes to close this summer, what it really is a bridge, that spirit and that emotion gets passed over to what we're trying to accomplish and joins our program and flies with us. And I'm very humbled to be able to give him that chance. I mean, how often can you say that you love your job and you love everything that you do and you're getting a chance to pursue the things that you want to pursue? It's a pretty amazing thing to be able to do that. But it becomes so much more amazing when I get to do that with my expanding family from inside and outside. So I wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the Hilton, thank you to Rick and his team, and to all of you, and for welcoming us into your family. It's a terrific moment for me, and I'll always remember this day. Thank you very much.